Hello everyone, welcome to back my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Hollyoaks fans are set to see Mercedes McQueen and Freddie Roscoe grow even closer in scenes set to air next week. Freddie has been a source of support to Mercedes as she continues her chemotherapy treatment for bowel cancer. But their friendship is set to turn into something more following a thoughtful gift. It's the day of Mercedes' twins christening, and Mercy is determined to make the day special for Maria Carmela and Maria Gabriela, especially with her next round of chemotherapy beginning the following day. In the chapel before the service, a reflective Mercedes takes some time for herself before thanking Grace, Freddie's wife, for all her help organizing the event. Mercedes is nervous about how the chemotherapy will affect her this time round and is grateful for her friends' support, hoping to show her appreciation with the Christmas presents she's bought for them. Mercedes hands Freddie his gift, and he is taken aback by her thoughtfulness. He's always maintained that he thinks of Mercedes as a sister, but the present is set to mark the start of a romance between the two. Details of Freddie and Mercedes' romance were further teased in the Hollyoaks 2024 winter trailer. In one clip, Christmas morning arrives and a sheepish Freddie is seen trying to sneak out of Mercedes' home, but his efforts to go unnoticed backfire. A returning Mayra and Nana McQueen know exactly what's occurred. "Ho ho ho, looks like Santa came last night then," chuckles Mayra. The new lovers plan a romantic break together, and everyone seems thrilled about the relationship except Grace, Freddie's wife. Grace has been a constant support during Mercedes' treatment and is furious with her friend's betrayal. "Stay away from Freddie, or I swear this will be your last Christmas," she says as she confronts Mercedes in hospital, tears streaming down her face. Mercedes might not be the only other woman in their marriage though, as the trailer hints at Freddie's recent betrayal with his brother's girlfriend Vicky repeating itself. Title: Twists of Fate. The atmosphere in the dog was electric that Friday night, a perfect setting for the storm brewing in the background. Mercedes McQueen, with her characteristic sass and unmistakable presence, leaned against the bar, nursing a gin and tonic. Her sharp eyes scanned the room as she teased Marnie over her questionable choice of footwear. Freddie Roscoe, ever the charming rogue, sauntered into the pub. His entrance was subtle, but Mercedes noticed immediately. She had a sixth sense for trouble, and trouble was written all over Freddie. "Ah, the prodigal Roscoe returns," she quipped as he approached the bar. "What's the occasion, Freddie? Another dodgy business deal, or just here to flirt?" Freddie smirked, his confidence unwavering. "Why can't it be both?" Mercedes rolled her eyes, though the corner of her lips twitched in amusement. She wasn't about to let Freddie Roscoe think he had the upper hand. A chance encounter, the night progressed with a steady hum of banter, laughter, and drinks. Mercedes, ever the life of the party, found herself exchanging barbs with Freddie more often than she liked to admit. At one point, he caught her wrist gently, pulling her aside. "You've got this tough-as-nails act down to an art, haven't you?" She arched an eyebrow, intrigued despite herself. "And what's your excuse?" "Flash the dimples, say a few smooth lines, and hope no one notices the chaos you leave behind." Freddie laughed, a genuine sound that momentarily softened his typically guarded demeanor. "Takes one to know one, doesn't it?" Their eyes locked for a moment longer than necessary. The spark was undeniable, but Mercedes wasn't one to fall easily. She pulled her wrist away, shaking off the unexpected connection. "Dream on, Roscoe," she said, turning on her heel. But even as she walked away, she couldn't help the flutter in her chest. Unlikely allies? A few days later, fate conspired to throw Mercedes and Freddie together again. She found herself stranded on the roadside with a flat tire after a chaotic morning dealing with Goldie and the rest of the McQueen clan. Of course, it was Freddie who pulled up in his vintage car, flashing that infuriatingly smug grin. "Need a hand, princess?" he teased, stepping out of the car. "I'd rather hitchhike," Mercedes shot back, folding her arms. Suit yourself, Freddie said, leaning casually against his car. But after a moment he added, though I'm guessing the nearest garage is about 5 miles that way. Mercedes groaned, her pride warring with practicality. Fine, but no funny business. As Freddie worked on the tire, they fell into an easy rhythm of conversation. Mercedes couldn't remember the last time she'd laughed so freely or let someone into her world, even just a little. You're not so bad when you're not scheming, Roscoe, she admitted grudgingly as they finished up. And you're not so terrifying when you're stranded, he replied with a wink. The tease of romance. The accidental camaraderie led to more chance meetings, or so they told themselves. Freddie began showing up at the dog more often, and Mercedes found herself lingering in places she knew he frequented. Their chemistry didn't go unnoticed. Goldie was the first to pick up on it, cornering Mercedes in the kitchen one afternoon. Are you it, Freddie, you know? She asked, wiggling her eyebrows. Mercedes scoffed, though her cheeks flushed slightly. Don't be daft, Goldie, he's just a Roscoe. Trouble, top to bottom. Goldie grinned knowingly. And since when has that ever stopped you? Meanwhile, Freddie was facing similar ribbing from his brother Joe, who had spotted the lingering glances and playful exchanges. She's a McQueen, mate. That's a recipe for disaster, Joe warned. Freddie shrugged, though a flicker of uncertainty crossed his face. Maybe. But disasters never looked so good. A close call. Thought you'd be at the dog, Mercedes said, surprised. Needed a change of scenery, he replied. They fell into an easy conversation, but the mood shifted when a group of rowdy customers stumbled in, clearly looking for trouble. Mercedes, never one to back down, confronted them head-on, but the situation quickly escalated. Freddie stepped in, his presence of calming yet authoritative force. All right, lads, time to move on, he said, his tone brooking no argument. You didn't have to do that, she said, her voice softer than usual. Freddie shrugged. Couldn't let anything happen to you, could I? The intensity of his gaze sent a shiver down Mercedes' spine. For once, she was at a loss for words. Crossing the line. Their dynamic shifted after that night. The playful banter remained, but there was an undercurrent of something deeper, something neither of them wanted to admit outright. One evening, after a particularly hectic day, Freddie showed up at Mercedes' door with a bottle of wine and a cheeky grin. Thought you could use a drink, he said. Mercedes rolled her eyes but let him in. As the night wore on, their walls came down, and they found themselves sharing stories they wouldn't dare tell anyone else. You're not what I expected, you know, Mercedes admitted, her voice tinged with vulnerability. And what did you expect? Freddie asked, leaning closer. A selfish, scheming Roscoe, she replied with a smirk. Freddie laughed, shaking his head. And you're exactly what I expected, a fiery, complicated McQueen. Their laughter faded into a charged silence. Before either of them could think twice, Freddie leaned in, brushing his lips against hers. Mercedes hesitated for a fraction of a second before giving in, pulling him closer. The kiss was electric, full of pent-up tension and unspoken feelings. But just as quickly as it began, Mercedes pulled away, her eyes searching his. This doesn't mean anything, she said, though the crack in her voice betrayed her. Of course not, Freddie replied, though his expression said otherwise. The fallout. The days following their kiss were a whirlwind of avoidance and stolen glances. Neither of them wanted to admit what had happened, or what it meant. But the village grapevine had already started buzzing, and it wasn't long before the McQueens and the Roscoes got wind of the brewing romance. Mercedes and Freddie? Goldie exclaimed, her voice full of disbelief. That's like fire and gasoline. Joe, on the other hand, pulled Freddie aside, his tone serious. If you're getting involved with her, you better be sure. She's not the kind of woman you can mess around with. Freddie didn't have an answer. All he knew was that Mercedes had gotten under his skin in a way no one else ever had. What's next? As the credits rolled, viewers were left with a tantalizing tease of what could come next. Would Mercedes and Freddie give in to their undeniable chemistry, or would their pasts and their families keep them apart? One thing was certain, in true Hollyoaks fashion, their story was only just beginning, and it promised to be as fiery and unpredictable as the characters themselves. Thanks for watching this video, and please subscribe our Hollyoaks Update YouTube channel for more update news.